Welcome into Sportsmemo's betting podcast for September 2nd. It's NFL opening line report with Teddy covers. Teddy, happy Monday morning to you. NFL is here. How you feeling?
Oh, my God. I mean, Drew, the opening weekend of college football really gets your juices flowing. You spend 15 hours in front of the TV on Saturday, and then you spend the rest of the weekend, all day Sunday. Okay, here's college football, here's NFL. I mean, I spent another 15-hour day doing football yesterday. So, and now, of course, it's week one of the NFL season with all these lines. They've been out all summer. Nonetheless, we do expect significant movement across the board this week. So let's take a look at the opening numbers for the NFL, what the numbers have done all summer, and most importantly, what we expect the point spreads and the totals to do between now and kickoffs on Thursday, Sunday, and, of course, Monday night.
Teddy, let's get right after it. We got Green Bay versus Chicago in Soldier Field. Looks like the Bears laying 3 with juice. 46 or 46.5 the total. What are you thinking here?
And let me start with this. I just posted a play on this game today.
Okay.
I had 2 plays that I posted earlier in August, and I just posted this one here. So if you want my full analysis, go to the website right now, sportsmemo.com. You can get this play up and available for Thursday. Let's talk about the concepts here. Chicago, Soldier Field, one of the weakest home fields in the NFL for, pretty much the better part of the previous 2 decades. Last year, they were moneymakers at home. 6-1 is home chalk, 7-1 overall. The only game they lost at home, they lost a playoff game at home. But during the regular season, the only one they failed to cover was New England. And they didn't play well in that game. They didn't deserve to cover. But it was kind of a weird game, if you remember that one. So a home field that hadn't been strong became strong a year ago. A team that hadn't been good in division, all of a sudden 5-1 straight up, 6-0 ATS. You have the Packers in double revenge in this spot. So the Soldier Field, which hadn't played well, and a Bears team that hadn't played well in the division, the first year under Nagy, they played really well in division. As for Green Bay, there were some concerns in the preseason about the lack of playmakers, and that I'm not convinced those questions were answered. That being said, it's not like the Packers, the with LaFleur versus McCarthy, one would think that, and the double revenge, one would expect Green Bay to come with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder in this one. We've seen two-way action at the current number. This line was down to 3, and now we're seeing, as you mentioned, 3s with juice. There's even a couple of 3.5s out there right now, and we've seen over money come in the last basically 12 hours. And last night to today, there has been a move on the over. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit more over money between now and kickoff. As for the side, I do think the Bears close 3, but there may well be juice there. So I don't see the urgency necessarily to get involved. If you like the Packers, you can find a 3.5 now. I wouldn't hesitate to get involved at that number. But the prevailing number of 3 looks to me like the number this game's most likely to close at.
Teddy, on the Sunday slate, we can start off top of the card here. 4-5-3, 4-5-4. The Atlanta Falcons at the Minnesota Vikings. Looks like the Vikings pretty much -4 across the board. There are some 3.5s out there right now, and 47 or 47.5 the total.
Yeah, we've seen the money trickling on Atlanta. 4.5 all summer, 4.5 for most of the preseason, then down to 4, and now we're seeing 3.5s popping up. Total stayed pretty constant at 47, 47.5. We haven't seen a ton of movement on this game. We have seen a little bit of Falcons money. And you can understand why. Atlanta was, decimated with injuries defensively last year. And it's obviously a very different season for the Falcons this year. And there were concerns about Cousins and his ability to move the offense a season ago. And those questions weren't answered in August. So I would expect a trickling of money for Atlanta. I don't see a whole lot going on this total right now. I would expect the line to close pretty close to where it is, 3.5, 4 across the board. This is not a got to bet this game now, regardless of which side you like.
Teddy, we got 4-5-5, 4-5-6 up next. Washington at Philadelphia. Looks like the Eagles -9, -9.5, depending where you're shopping. 45.5 seems to be the prevailing total.
Yeah, the money's clearly coming for Philly here. And I think you can understand why. And so for week one, the prevailing trends are you bet the division dogs. That's the trend that everyone's talking about right now. And other than some of the relatively sharp people I talk to have been quoting when I say I want to lay with Philadelphia, like, oh, you can't take the division, you got to take the division dogs week one. And then again, the long-term trend is strong towards the division dogs in week 1. The Redskins have been annihilated by the Eagles in every meeting over the last 2 years. They haven't been close. They're not playing in single digits. And you want to talk about a team that had a bad preseason. Washington's right at or near the top of the list. They're going with Keenum. They don't have Trent Williams. The defense doesn't look good. The offense doesn't look good. Philly's going to take the money. There are still 9s out there if you like the Eagles. Grab one now. I would not be surprised at all to see this line close 10 or higher. We're also seeing a little bit of under money come in. I don't think people think the Redskins can score, and I don't blame them. Washington, to me, I think I've got them. It's Arizona and Miami at the bottom of the power ratings. I think I got the Redskins number 30 right now. That's they look like a bad football team coming into the campaign, and the markets have seen that and reacted accordingly with the Redskins money. With the Eagles money showing and continuing to show, and the 9's getting bought out. If you like Philly, grab a 9 now.
Teddy, we got the Week 1 division dog profile in action right here with the New York Jets and Buffalo Bills up next. Looks like the Jets -3, 40.5 being the total.
Well, both these teams had good preseasons. And the Jets opened 3.5. I didn't think the 3.5 could hold. They haven't held. Total opened 38.5. We've seen a modest flow of over money also. Modest, meaning that it moved a 1.5 over the summer. It's not anything crazy, but we have seen a little bit of over money here throughout the course of the summer months, with the line sitting pretty clearly at 3. And both these squads, again, you look at the preseason, you say bet on versus bet on. Buffalo's defense was great in August. Still a lot of questions about Josh Allen and whether they'll be able to make plays downfield. But defensively, the Bills, look real solid. The Jets offense, they were bottom 5 offense last year. Darnold looked good in August, and all of a sudden they got weapons around him and an offensive line protecting him. So, there's positive signs for the Jets right now as well. But this feels like a two-way action game. I don't see it moving off of 3 from the current number, so there's no urgency to get involved.
And guys, we're talking with Teddy Covers on Twitter at Teddy_covers. Great stat here. Teddy last year in 2018 went 20-4 out the gate in college football and the NFL. And we do have a coupon code for this podcast, $200 off up until kickoff on Thursday night of the NFL season. That coupon code is TC595. That's TC595 at checkout. That will take $200 off his NFL full season package at sportsmemo.com. His NFL since 2015, that's the last 4 years, 178 and 128, that's 58%. He also went 39-24, up over 60%, 62% NFL full season just last year in 2018. And guys, that last 4 years number, that is great. 58% last 4 years in the NFL. So check him out at sportsmemo.com. Coupon code TC595 at checkout for $200 off his NFL full season package. Teddy, let's move down to South Florida here. We got Baltimore at Miami. Baltimore now laying 6.5 or 7. Total of 37.5. Low total here. Teddy, a lot going on. Movement with players. We got the hurricane. I don't know, a lot going on with this game. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, so I expected the markets to crash on Miami, and they did. And now we're looking at 6.5. So this line's going to 7. All right, it might go to 7.5. The Tunsil trade for the Dolphins. You say, what a great move for Miami, and it is. From a long-term standpoint, the Dolphins, they fleeced the Texans in that move, even though they traded a franchise left tackle to do it. Mm-hmm. But that move sent as clear a signal as you can send to everyone, people on the roster. I was reading quotes last week when the trade was rumored, and they said the one quote that stood out to me is, there's going to be a riot in this locker room if they trade Tunsil. He was a leader on that team. He was a leader in that locker room. He was a leader of the offensive line. And everyone now knows that Miami is tanking and they stink, and the markets are reflecting that. But there's still 6.5s out there. Those won't last. This line will close 7 or higher. And total wise, I don't think anyone. It's funny. 37.5. It feels low. It does. One would think Fitzpatrick will be chucking the football around, and I don't think that Baltimore. Everyone remembers Lamar Jackson last year from the Ravens as a quarterback who was a running quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised if Lamar Jackson throwing the football around a little bit here. And I wouldn't be surprised at all to see this total take a little bit of over money. But again, we haven't seen a whole lot of signs of it. Open 36.5, 37, and now we're basically 37.5 that are out there. I think it's going to close 38 or higher. So if you do like the total, bet it now. If you like the Ravens, bet it now. Those numbers are not coming back.
Yeah, Teddy, I mean, just yesterday I spent some time at the Wynn Sportsbook and saw their season win total on Miami. It moved, I believe, a full game with Laramie Tunsil in the trade. What's your opinion on that? Just one player moving the season win total a full game.
But it's not one player. Yes, it's one player, but it's the concept. All right, Miami, with that trade, said, we want the number one overall pick in the draft next year. And the markets have to reflect that. Okay. The Miami said, I mean, you couldn't make it any clearer. We're trading away our star young left tackle, and we want a bunch of draft choices and good draft choices. They got more for Tunsil than the Raiders got for Khalil Mack. And of course, Houston didn't sign Tunsil before they made the trade, which is what happens when a team makes moves without a GM in charge, especially when the guy who's making the moves is the coach on the hot seat who has to win this year.
Crazy situation there. Also, Teddy, last question real quick. How much does the hurricane factor into your handicap here?
Potentially significantly. However, I mean, when you talk about off-field distractions, look, it happens to all of us in the handicapping world. You get into a fight with your wife, your house burns down, whatever it is. Off-field distractions happen. It happens in our lives. It happens in players' lives. When you're talking about something like a massive hurricane bearing down and guys are evacuating, families are evacuating, et cetera, that's a huge distraction. We're not in that situation with Miami yet. We may be in that situation in 24 to 48 hours.
Teddy, we got San Francisco at Tampa Bay up next. Looks like the Bucks pick them at home here, 50 the total.
This is an interesting game, and it really is. And this is one where I can't tell you where I do not have a strong opinion as to where the money's going to go. I think we might see a little bit of Tampa money. I do expect to see over money in this ballgame. For San Fran, they weren't good on the road last year. They weren't good on the road the year before that. And, there's a lot of San Fran, well, they should be good, love for Garoppolo. But I really think the betting markets aren't sold on the 49ers yet as a team they want to be backing in a game that they got to win on the road in order to get the money. That being, and Bruce Arians, the coach that people respect a lot, even in his first game. From a defensive standpoint, I mean, the Niners look a whole lot better than the Bucs. But on the other hand, with Arians and famous Jameis, I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa's putting up some big scores in this game. So we've seen over money. I do expect to see more over money. That may be the urgent bet in this one. If you like the over, I bet it sooner rather than later.
Teddy, we got 463, 464 up next. Kansas City at Jacksonville. Seeing here, just putting this all together, with all three Florida teams with home games with this hurricane. Interesting tidbit there. We got 3.5 or 4. That's the Chiefs laying on the road. 52 the total.
Yeah, that is an interesting factor. And it's certainly something, it could affect travel in and out for Kansas City. It could very well affect the players' lives off the field in Jacksonville. But, we don't have a great storm track yet. We don't know where this storm is going to move exactly. It could be a big distraction for the Jags. And there's a lot of debate in the betting markets, how good this Jags team is. 2 years ago, they came out of nowhere. Well, they didn't come out of nowhere. My clients and I cashed a season win bet over on the Jags that year. But, they essentially came out of nowhere for the mainstream and won the division and looked like a team to reckon with moving forward. And then last year, everything that was good the year before was this nightmare. And, there's a lot of love for Foles in the market. Certainly Foles and DeFilippo pairing up again is something that the markets are a little bit excited about. But of the 32 NFL teams, I got to tell you, Jacksonville is a team that I do not have a strong read on. I don't have a strong feel for. I can't decide if they're going to be mediocre or bad. I don't think they're going to be good. The market's giving them a fair bit of support here. And we're seeing Jags money. Nobody trusts Kansas City's defense right now. And, you can see that divide where the sharp money's coming towards the Jags as home dogs. They want Foles in the debut. For the prevailing number here, if you like the Jags, I'd grab the 4 now. You might see, though, the public's going to come in on KC on Sunday. If you're dealing with a public shop, you don't need to worry about it. But if you're dealing with the sharp shops, we're definitely seeing a fair bit of sharp support right now for the Jags, and that may well continue into the weekend.
Tennessee and Cleveland up next, Teddy. We got 45.5 the total, with the Cleveland Browns laying 5.5 at home.
Yeah, the Browns aren't going to get the wise guy love. And this is a game I can tell you like an hour or two before. I don't know when it's going to come. At some point this week, we will see a move on Tennessee in the betting markets. I don't know when. But I anticipate Titans money. And this will be the year sharp square divide game. The public will be on Cleveland. The wise guys will be on the Titans. But if you like the Browns, because we do expect some sharp money on Tennessee this week, you don't have to bet in here. See if you can find a 5, most more than this, see if you can find a 4.5. I don't know how much Titans money we're going to see, but I feel it coming. So if you like Cleveland, wait. If you like Tennessee, and again, this is definitely going to be a game where it depends on what book you're betting at. If you have multiple outs and you're dealing with sharp and square books, you're going to have this game has legitimate, line variance potential. But if you're dealing with, if you have one out and it's a square out, it's going to be Browns money. You already know that's coming. So in that case, you might want to bet it sooner rather than later. This total hasn't moved all summer, basically. 45.5. I'm seeing no indication it's moving right here.
He's Teddy Covers, knowing the NFL as good as anybody I've heard. 75% run the last 5 days. He's running hot right now. And, of course, the last 4 years in the NFL, 58%, just 62%, up over 60% number last year. 2018 NFL, 39-24. And don't forget about his NFL season over-under wins report. 71% since back in 2001. That's 87-35, and that's still available at sportsmemo.com. Still time to put in your season over-under wins, and you get that package with the full season purchase at sportsmemo.com, exclusively at sportsmemo.com, and you can take $200 off of his NFL full season package using the coupon code TC595 at checkout. That's TC595 at checkout. Next game up, Teddy, we got 4-6-7, 4-6-8. LA Rams, Carolina Panthers. Looks like 50 or 50.5 the total, with the Rams laying 2.5 or 3 on the road.
Yeah, I'm seeing mostly 3s. I'm not seeing the 2.5s. Where'd you see a 2.5 right now?
I'm seeing a 2.5 at an offshore shop that I really don't like to mention. So you're right.
Yeah, exactly. The market's at 3 on this game. And we have seen a little bit of Carolina money over the course of the last day or two, because it's expected now that Cam Newton's going to play. And I think that there's a prevailing trend here we got to talk about, because has at least some influence in the markets. Week 1, Super Bowl loser since 2000, 3-16 against the number. Of course, the Rams lost the Super Bowl, and those Super Bowl losers have been bad. And, of course, no one saw anything for the Rams in the preseason, so there's perhaps a bit of reluctance in the markets to support L.A. here. But I don't know that this one's going to get to 2.5. I think it'll be a 3 with juice situation for Carolina. I would not be shocked if we see some under money in this ballgame. 50.5, the current prevailing number. I don't know that the markets are sold on Cam Newton being 100%. I don't know if they're sold on Carolina having a particularly aggressive game plan. And, we all saw Jared Goff, stumble his way down the stretch last year after an incredible first half of the season. His last 8 games were nowhere near as good as his first 8, and his playoffs were even worse. So I do expect some under money in this one. If you like the overweight, if you like the under, get involved sooner rather than later.
Teddy, we got 469, 470 up next. Detroit at Arizona, seeing 47 the total, mostly 2.5s in the marketplace. That's the Lions laying on the road.
Yeah, and the markets aren't really excited about either side here. I know if it gets to 3, there'll be wise guy support for Arizona. It hasn't gotten to 3 yet. I'm not convinced it's going to get to 3. I don't think anyone's excited about laying a field goal with the Lions on the road. As for Arizona, and again, you don't want to overstate the preseason. Both these teams look like garbage in August. But when you talk about a rookie quarterback and a rookie head coach in their debuts, yeah, Detroit's not going to have a lot on film to study for, and that could give Arizona a legit edge. And that's a big part of the reason why I don't think this line's going to 3. But, on paper, boy, you watch the Cardinals' first units, offense and defense, they looked awful in August, and this was as bad as any team in the NFL last year. So you can understand why they're home dogs. 2.5 to me looks like it's going to stay there. Maybe it gets to 3. But every time it gets to, there were a couple of 3s that popped up at times, and they've always been bet back down. So I think at 3 there will be wise guy support for Arizona. So I don't see this line moving a whole lot between now and kickoff.
Teddy, we got Cincinnati at Seattle up next. Heavy favorite here. The Seahawks at home, seeing anywhere between 8.5 to 9.5. 44 seems to be the prevailing total.
Yeah, nobody wants the Bengals. I mean, the wise guys don't want the Bengals. The public doesn't want the Bengals. There's been nothing but Seattle money. And this is a deal where, we haven't seen the buyback. At 10, do they buy back maybe? Maybe not. Maybe, all this, they just hold their 7.5s and 8s that they bought all summer. But the Bengals didn't look good in August. Andy Dalton looks pretty well washed up. There's weapons, no. Offensive line, no. There's not a lot. There's not a lot to like about Cincy right here in the market. They're showing that. If you like Seattle, I'd get them now rather than later.
Teddy, interesting handicap up next. We got the Indianapolis Colts, obviously everything going on there with the quarterback position, Andrew Luck hanging it up. 44.5 the total. And now seeing the LA Chargers bought up here, 6.5, depending where you're shopping. What are you thinking here with the Colts and Chargers?
There's a ton to talk about for this ball game. Let's start with who the Chargers have lost since the start of the preseason. Okay, Derwin James. Okay, that's a pretty significant name as safety. Russell Okung, their starting left tackle. Mm-hmm. Melvin Gordon, Pro Bowler running back. Oh, Keenan Allen's hurt too. He's very questionable for this week, and he may play, he may not. That's a ton. Okay, from the start of August for the Chargers, a team with limited home field edge, a team that didn't do anything in the preseason, a team that I don't trust Anthony Lynn to have him ready out of the gate. All that being said, when we talk about Indy, how do you make money in the NFL? You find teams with good quarterbacks that are undervalued and you bet on them. All right. I've seen enough of Jacoby Brissett. All right. Seen him in college, seen him in the NFL, seen him in preseason. Jacoby Brissett's not a good quarterback, and you can put lipstick on a pig and still a pig, right? We like Indy, as a team. Indy season, to me, it's going to be without luck. They're a 500 level team, and the markets are reflecting that. We saw that. I thought this line would go to 7. It didn't go to 7. It's sticking 6.5. There's still wise guy support for the Colts. The total was sitting at 48.5, and got readjusted off of luck. Now 44.5, 45. It's not a game that I'm seeing a ton of, strong opinions one side or the other. I'm seeing a lot of strong opinions, but it's two-way. At the current number, it really is a two-way action game. They're getting Colts money. They're getting Chargers money. And right now, it feels like 6.5 is where this game's going to go off at.
Teddy, I like the pig reference. I've never actually heard it used towards a guy, but I was picking up what you were laying down, man. We got 475, 476 up next. New York Giants, Dallas Cowboys. We got the division underdog in play again here. 6.5 or 7. What the Cowboys are laying at home. 45 or 45.5 the total. Giants, Cowboys, Teddy.
Okay, so I'm glad we have the opportunity to talk about this game because I need to correct something that I said on our last show. And a couple of different people contacted me after that. And they're like, no, dude, you're wrong. You're wrong on this one. I said no running back is worth anything.
Right.
And there are a handful of running backs that are worth something. And I actually went and I actually created a sheet and went and looked at a sheet. And it's like, yes, this makes sense. Zeke Elliott is one of the 2 running backs in the NFL that's worth at least a point, maybe a point and a half. The other one's Saquon Barkley for the Giants. When you look at the comparison, again, I talked about Austin Eckler and being Eckler and the Chargers. And look, it doesn't matter. Melvin Gordon, Austin Eckler. The issue is Austin Eckler is good. And the Cowboys don't have a good backup. So Elliott's worth something. worth something significant. And without him, the markets are not going to explode on Dallas. Not going to happen. 7 is, this line could drop to 6.5. It wouldn't shock me. And of course, the Giants had a positive preseason. They look good. The first stringers look good for the Giants in the preseason. And this team, underachieved in many ways last year. The locker room distractions that were there a year ago don't appear to be there now. And it's Eli Manning behind center. We're not going to see a ton of groundswell support for the G-men. But in terms of where this line's going, Dallas ain't getting betting up. It's not going higher than 7. So if you like the Giants, I grab the 7. If you like the Cowboys, maybe you wait and see if you get a 6.5 pop up at some point between now and kickoff, because Zeke Elliott is worth something. Last week he said he was worth nothing. Yeah, he's worth at least a point to a 1.5 in the betting markets.
Guys, he's Teddy Covers on Twitter at Teddy_covers. We got the Sunday night game and the 2 Monday nighters up next to finish off the podcast. Just want to give a reminder, we will be doing the NFL Opening Line Report podcast each and every Monday throughout the season, all the way up through the Super Bowl. It's only September 2nd. Welcome to September. But we got the whole football season in front of us. So about 30 minutes each podcast, each and every Monday, jam-packed full of NFL betting content with Teddy. We got Pittsburgh, New England, Sunday nighter here, 50.5, 51 being the total, Teddy. Pats laying about 5.5 or 5, seeing some 6s as well. So some opinion on this one with the Pats and the Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, the money's still in the last 24 hours. The money's come on Pittsburgh. You know what the wise guys do? They look at New England, they grade them out, they say this team's not as good as the stats, their record would indicate, and they bet against New England, and it happens pretty much all year long, every year, the last 3 years. Fade the Patriots, fade the Patriots, fade the. Why do you think New England has such a good point spread record over the last 3 years? Because the wise guys have devalued them. That's why. And we're seeing it again here. There's love for Pittsburgh in the markets. Oh, the Steelers will be fine. They don't have Le'Veon Bell, who needs them. They don't have Antonio Brown. They'll be. And I agree with that assessment for Pittsburgh, that without Bell and Brown, that offense is still going to move the football. I don't think there's any questions about that. But things I don't want to do, bet against Belichick with extra time to prepare. The markets have no problem with that. So, again, if you like, and this is not going to be a game where the public's loading up on New England, crazy numbers on New England. If you like the Patriots, I would say grab the 5.5 right now. If you like Pittsburgh, it's important to grab the 6. Those don't appear like they're going to hold much longer.
Yeah, in terms of two teams, with quarterbacks that have kind of prevailed, it is an interesting handicap in that sense with the Steelers and Pats Sunday night. We got the 2 Monday nighters coming up, but Teddy, just want to throw a curveball at you real quick for the listeners if they're looking to get down on tonight's game. We got Notre Dame, Louisville, looks like 55 the total. The Irish laying 19 to 18, depending where you're shopping. Any quick thoughts here on the college football Monday nighter tonight?
Yeah, of course. I mean, look, I know what Notre Dame's going to bring to the table, all right? The Fighting Irish spent all off season stewing about that, ugly loss to Clemson in the playoffs. They are very, very capable of, putting up points in bunches, playing elite level football, going on the road and blowing somebody out. That being said, I am not confident in my powering number for Louisville in the slightest. Louisville played probably in the range of 2 to 3 touchdowns below their power rating level if you grade out their personnel last year. I mean, last year was such a disaster on both sides of the football that coming into this season, I have to look at Louisville as something of an undervalued commodity. Satterfield's a bet-on coach. Yes. The program's pointed in the right direction. Their talent level is far better than their production was a year ago. So, in general, I think there may well be some value on Louisville moving forward. All that being said, I want to see it before I bet it. And when I'm looking for games where I want to back my undervalued underdogs, in week 1, they're not stepping up against the elite teams. So Louisville might be a lot better, and it might show. And it might not show on the scoreboard. You know what I mean? So it's a game. It's a clear pass and a must-watch game this evening. I want to see what Louisville looks like before I get involved.
I 100% agree, Teddy. I mean, it's a great game to watch. Take notes, use the information we learn going forward. But in terms of betting, I'm not a big volume guy week one anyway. With 18 to 23-year-olds out there, I just feel like the volatility is a lot more week one in college football with no preseason. Plus the fact, like you just talked about with Louisville, going against Ian Book and Notre Dame that can put up points. I do like Notre Dame overall, not necessarily to make it to the playoffs, but not necessarily looking to fade them this year. But Louisville with Scott Satterfield coming in, what he was able to do at App State was I thought he was a great coach, very undervalued. I think it's a great hire for Louisville. It's just, what's going to happen year one of the new administration. I think you're really rolling the dice tonight, so it's a pass for me tonight, but I 100% agree with your analysis there. And to finish off the NFL Opening Line Report podcast, we got the 2 Monday Nighters, one of my favorite nights of the year to watch football, NFL. We got Houston at New Orleans in the Big House Mercedes-Benz Stadium down there in New Orleans. Looks like the Saints -7, 53 the total, Teddy.
Yeah, and of course we'll have a chance to talk of both of these games next Monday before they're played, if you listen to the Opening Line Report. And I hope you do every single Monday. We'll break them down again real quick. But in terms of line movements here, we did see some support for Houston earlier. And now that support, they were starting to see some 6.5s pop up, and now it's back to 7 pretty much everywhere. So the markets like the Saints a fair bit. And right now it looks like 7 is the number that's going to hold, at least as far as I can see. Total's been bet down a little bit, 54 down to 53.5, 53. I'm not seeing any indicators that say this total is moving anywhere between now and next Monday. All that being said, the Texans got better at offense with Tunsil, even in week one. They needed something on that offensive line, and they got it, even though it cost them a whole lot.
Guys, remember the coupon code TC595 at checkout, $200 off. Teddy covers NFL full season package. That does include his NFL season over wins report. 20-4 in college football in the NFL last year. That's 2018's numbers, and 62% last year in the NFL, 58% over the last 4 years. Coupon code TC595 at checkout for $200 off his NFL full season package. And Teddy, I didn't realize that with the quick thoughts on next week's podcast as well. But any quick thoughts here? Denver at Oakland. Looks like a pick-em, 43 the total.
Yeah, and we've seen a bunch of Broncos money. A bunch of Broncos money. This is as high as 3. It was sitting at 2 all summer. And then in the last week or so, the 2s are gone, the 1s are gone. It's pretty much pick-em across the board. And look, the Raiders had a good preseason, in a sense. But there's certainly a fair bit of market support for Denver's defense compared to Oakland's defense. And with Joe Flacco getting the job in Denver, they were worried, I think, that Drew Lock, who got hurt and didn't end up having a chance to win the job. But there was a little bit of concern that the rookie was going to win the job. And once the veteran was clearly established as the starter, we've seen the Broncos money. I would anticipate a little bit of I wouldn't be surprised to see the Raiders go off -1, -1.5. I don't think Denver goes off the favorite. So if you like Oakland, grab a pick 'em right now. I think that's as low as it's going to go.
Teddy, great stuff. As always, love doing this podcast with you guys out there. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be having Teddy on each and every Monday throughout the NFL season, doing the NFL Opening Line Report. If you're on the East Coast, watch out for that hurricane. Stay safe. Watch out for the storm surge as well. Can be as dangerous, if not more dangerous, than the hurricane hitting itself. But Teddy, anything else you want to throw out before we shut this down?
Yeah, dude, I'm glad you're in Vegas now instead of in Florida, so you don't have to worry about this stuff the same way.
Absolutely. Hey, there was a question. What are the natural disasters here in Vegas?
That's the beauty of it. Drought, okay? And the drought's been going on for 15 decades, so it's not like it's anything new. 50 decades. Actually, the drought's been going on for, 1,000 years out here. So drought. And there's the occasional, we do get minor earthquakes. There are some fault lines, but we're not like on the waiting for the big one or anything like that. That's not coming to Las Vegas either. So for a natural disaster standpoint, we don't get tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes aren't bad, no volcanoes. Pretty good.
Yeah, man. It's a little hot, but I'll tell you, it's not as hot as South Florida, man. That humidity, the dry heat, there is something to that saying. It's dry. It doesn't always feel as hot. You don't have to take a shower after going outside for just 5 minutes, so don't miss that about South Florida. But like being here so far, and Teddy, always love talking the NFL with you, and we'll have Teddy on the NFL Every Game on the Board podcast, posted on Thursday or Friday, depending on the schedules. But guys, thanks for tuning in. Best of luck with your bets, and we will talk tomorrow.